Jamaicans will be heading to the election booths to cast their votes and to exercise their franchise in what is called Jamaica's democracy. Now, Jamaica is known around the world to have a robust democracy, but oftentimes we place a lot of emphasis on the culmination of the democratic process, which is the election, which is electing the preferred candidate to govern Jamaica. Now, this morning, we are going to look at, Andrew Holness, what today's election really means for Jamaica. Holness versus Golding. That is the title of our discussion for this morning, for this afternoon, whenever the video reaches you. What today's election really means for Jamaica, Holness versus Golding. Jamaica is voting today, and the nation is watching closely as Holness and Golding battle for leadership. In this video, we break down what a win for either side could mean for Jamaica's economy, youth opportunities, and government direction. From job creation and inflation to public services and political strategy, we give you the fast, clear, and honest analysis that Jamaica viewers crave. Whether you're following SouFlo TV, Politricks Watch, or just want straight to the point insights, this video is for you. So please like and share and subscribe. And subscribe now and stay updated on the latest election news, shocking moments, and real analysis from Jamaica's political landscape. Now, who do you think will win today? Holness or Golding? Now, that's a very important question. One man has to win, okay? Everybody can't win. The show has to be won by one single person, unfortunately. Now, we have been having a lot of discussions from the start of my channel about Golding versus Andrew Holness, and it has been heated. And what we have in Jamaica particularly are diehards. And the Gleaner brought a very interesting story to the fore this morning, and I would like to share aspects of the story which it brought to the fore. And the title of the article this morning was The Tiebreaker, GLPI's rare third term in tight race, having equal wins as PNP since 1944. So both parties have had equal wins since 1944 when we gained adult suffrage. The GLP and PNP have each entered a full slate, while the Jamaica Progressive Party is contesting 43 constituencies, the United Independence Congress, 7 and 9 candidates running independently. Of the 190 candidates in total, 136 are men and 54 women. So women have really improved in terms of their participation in the political process. Okay, so we have to give that. Now listen to what is happening according to the polls. The final RGR Gleaner commissioned Don Anderson poll, published on Sunday, has the PNP with a slender 3.1 percentage point lead over the GLP, with 37.6% of decided voters compared to the GLP's 34.5%. This gap sits just outside the poll's margin of error of plus or minus 3%, making the race too close to call. As I've suggested before, our pollsters are lazy, and using a sample of 1,000 and 1,300 just will not cut it and will not decipher who is going to win or who is going to lose. Does not give a real understanding, a real perception, a real grasp of the voting patterns of Jamaicans. Okay, and I think that we need to address that unfortunate reality. But the Gleaner went on to look at the different policies and the slogans that each politician is or has projected to the Jamaican people. For Holness, 53, today's bid is to cement his political legacy as a victory would make him the first GLP leader to secure 3 consecutive general election wins, putting him in the company of the PNP's PJ Patterson. His campaign under the slogan, Choose Jamaica, Choose Jamaica. And I have seen some great ads and sloganeering by the GLP. If you are, just surfing TikTok, you're going to see a lot of them. And wow, they are creative. Aren't they creative? Apart from, the PNP's song, their campaign song about, um, time come, they have not really put out a lot of ads. Well, I think the GLP going to say the GLP has much more money, but TikTok or to be on, doesn't require much money. You just need to be creative. And that's the whole beauty now of the social media. You can just put things up online free of cost, right? You don't have to pay media houses to, run these ads for you. They can just be there on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and the GLP has used those platforms very well, very exceptionally well. And even though I'm not a supporter of either party, but I was most impressed with the creativity of Jamaicans on these platforms and what the GLP has done. They have put Mr. Holness, Dr. Holness, in this light that you really wonder if he is not worthy to be the next Prime Minister of Jamaica. So we're seeing here where his campaign under the slogan Choose Jamaica has touted macroeconomic stability, a 3.3% unemployment rate, and a significant year-on-year murder reduction of over 42% as core achievements of his 9-year tenure. And we must contextualize the whole matter of the reduction in crime has just happened recently, so I don't know if he can take any great credit for that, but it's under his administration. It was not done over the 9 years. Let us make that very clear. It was just done during the election cycle, well, during the election year. My administration has worked and performed well, Holness declared on the campaign trail, pointing to lower national debt. We have lifted the standard of living in this country. That's what he's here suggesting. However, Holness's second term has not been without controversy. He enters the race under the shadow of an Integrity Commission investigation into his 2021 income filings for the alleged offense of illicit enrichment, situation used by his political opponents to attack his suitability for office. And you really wonder, how did that happen? Why did they drag out this, situation where he has not yet had his statutory declaration certified? You really wonder if they're playing a game with Jamaicans, but Jamaicans will have to determine that for themselves if they are being played here. And I think, yes, I think that it is that they're being played. There might be some truth to it and some lies, of course. While the probe was inconclusive, Holness has mounted a legal challenge, accusing the Commission of unfairness and seeking to strike down the very anti-corruption legislation passed under his administration. He has consistently denied any wrongdoing, stating, "Whatever I have, I've worked hard and honestly for it." That is what Holness is suggesting. Now, we have the opposition leader who is promising for opposition leader Mark Golding, 60. He's now 60 years old, so he's 7 years older than the Prime Minister. This election represents what analysts have called his one shot at glory. After taking the helm of a fractured PNP in November 2020, following a crushing defeat that saw the party win only 14 seats to the GLP's 49, Golding has worked to heal internal divisions and rebuild the party's base. Golding has similarly faced a barrage of personal attacks, which has contrasted Holness's upbringing in a Spanish Town board house with Golding's background as an Oxford-educated investment banker and lawyer. His dual citizenship also became a campaign issue, prompting him to renounce his British citizenship obtained through his father to quell political risk. He has sought to turn the tables by positioning himself as a leader with clean hands and a clean heart and framing the election as a referendum on the incumbent government's integrity. We're going to bring integrity, trustworthiness, and honor back into the center of leadership of the country after 10 years of hanky-panky, rip-off, cronyism, nepotism, and outright thieving, Golding argued at a recent rally. Now, both parties have made ambitious and controversial promises that have prompted warnings from private sector groups about the potential impact on the nation's finances. In a statement 3 days before the polls, Holness promised to double the minimum wage from 16,000 to 32,000 weekly over 5 years. There's also a promise to reduce the income tax from 25% to 15% on a phased basis, provide grants and expanded student loans for university students, build over 70,000 houses over the next 5 years, and focus more on roads and water. The PNP has vowed to raise the income tax-free threshold for persons with annual earnings of $3.5 million, remove taxes on overtime and tips, and build 50,000 low-income houses. Their platform also includes an enhanced school feeding program, a $10,000 monthly transportation subsidy for needy children, and a scholarship for the first member of a family to qualify for tertiary education. Now, we can see here that there are these promises, some of which have lots of holes. First of all, Andrew Holness's policy is moving the minimum wage from 16,000 to 32,000 weekly over 5 years is something worth considering. However, why wasn't that included in his manifesto, or was it? Why weren't we hear this? Why is it at the last moment that they're telling us that he's going to do this? Is he just making these promises without sitting and thinking, reflecting deeply on what and how this is going to be able to be accomplished? These are questions that we must ask ourselves. Now, the reduction in the income tax rate from 25% to 15%, that is in his manifesto and was said also on the campaign trail, building over 70,000 houses over the next 5 years. Yes, that is true. And you really wonder why 70,000, why not more houses over the next 5 years? We should be building more houses. We should be building more houses because of the deficit and the amount of money that the NHT has attracted. Now, I just wanted, to say here that during the debates, Mark Golding, that's the debate between Andrew Holness and Mark Golding accused and I use the word accused here or alleged deliberately because I don't want anybody to suggest that what he's suggesting is true. But Mark Golding did allege in his conversation with Andrew Holness that the GLP party has withdrawn over $130 billion from the National Housing Trust, the NHT. Now, what has he done with that money? And we have to ask questions. We need some form of, transparency where that is concerned. And our journalists, as I suggested, did not ask follow-up questions. It was more geared toward a scripted debate, a reality TV show, which was not interesting for those of us who are thinkers and critical thinkers and understand how politics in Jamaica work. Now, the PNP has vowed to raise the income tax threshold and to 3.5, but we're suggesting here too that is going to result in increase of GCTs. They're going to put the cost, they're not giving you anything. We must understand that there is no freebie. There are no freebies in politics. They are taking from Peter to give Paul, or taking from Paul to give Peter. You must understand that. And wherever they allege or they say that they're giving you something, they are going to, increase the cost somewhere else and transfer that cost over to you. And instead of paying it on X item, you'll pay it on Y item. Very important that you understand that. And that is what we have to think about. We can't think you're going to have a lot of money in your pockets. It won't happen. I'm hearing people telling me about, middle class in Jamaica. Jamaica really doesn't have any middle class. We don't have a middle class. Our middle class has been hollowed out a long, long time. I mean, the average salary in Jamaica, many people are suggesting, are between 80,000 and $100,000 after tax, I think. Right? That is nothing in Jamaica. That's not, especially if you're living in the urban center in Kingston, that's no money. How do people even survive on that? When groceries for a family, I'm sure, is 50,000 and above. So you're paying over 50,000 and could be more, half of your salary, maybe three-quarters of your salary on groceries. So what do you have left to survive in terms of paying your bills, taking care of other expenses, raising children, saving something here or there? You don't have anything left. So what middle class? Well, we don't have a middle class in Jamaica. What we've done in Jamaica, just like the United States, we have increased the debt loan sort of situation in which people can borrow money. And they borrow money ad nauseum, and then they wind up being in debt, being debt-ridden. Okay? So that's what you have to understand. Now, the whole matter of the 50,000 low-income houses, Andrew Holness promises 70,000. The PNP hasn't said how long it will take them to deliver 50,000 low-income houses. Is it over a 5-year period or is it 2-year? We don't know. But what is happening is that these people are playing games. What they need to do is to grow the economy, that people can, generate their jobs. They can, create jobs so that they can be able to earn a living and the economy can be expanded. But to suggest that the economy is contracted, must stay contracted, and you just borrow to give money. Because a lot of these things that they're doing is borrowed money, and we are the ones who have to pay it back in the final analysis. A 10,000 month transportation subsidy for needy children, nonsense. You give them the 10,000 monthly and they're using that for a meal and for other things, to pay a bill, because parents are just not coping with the low salaries we have in Jamaica. So why give them that? Why not just develop on what the JLP has said about the school bus system? Why do that, PNP? Why put your foot inside of your mouth? Okay? Why don't you think and understand that the Jamaica in which we live, $10,000 is just not a lot of money. And when you give it to them, even though you're giving them to pay for bus fare, parents have other needs, children have other needs, could be books, could be lunch money, whatever it is. Well, that's what you're giving them for, the lunch money and the bus fare. But the fact of the matter is not going to be used. Our people are not as disciplined as that. It's best for them to get the school bus and know that they have a ride to and from school. That would have been the thing to do, in that they're not getting the money, and and in that way they won't be able to use the money to buy food and to transfer to other important needs that they might have. So we need to, both parties are playing a game, and they're just about playing a paternalistic role in which they are there to be our daddies and to hand out goodies and gifts to us. We didn't send them to Gordon House to do that, and to Jamaica House. We sent them there to protect the nation and to build an economic infrastructure in which Jamaicans can creatively expand on the economy through entrepreneurships. But that's not what it's about in this world. Right now, we're about giving the government behaving as if they're parents and they just give us goodies when they feel like. And then they use the remaining portion to, to enrich themselves and their friends and their families and their colleagues. That is what is happening in modern Jamaica. But please let me know, what do you think? Do you think that Holness's policies or Mark Golding's policies will be better, or the better options available for Jamaica's future? Please let me know. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. Like the videos so the videos can be shared with as many people on the platform. Thank you so much. Ciao.